Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. My name is Sarah Lunsford, and I am the TAPI Women in Industry Division Manager. Today's webinar is sponsored by the WIN Division's Career Catalyst Committee. Please stay till the end of the webinar for a chance to win one of 4 copies of the books from today's presentation. This webinar will be held in accordance with TAPI's antitrust policy and procedures. The full policy is available at tapi.org/antitrust. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, please type them into the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. We will address questions at the end of the presentation. This webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be available on TAPI's Women in Industry webpage soon. With all that being said, I'd like to officially welcome you to today's webinar. Today's topic is the ideal team player, cultivating high-performance teams in the pulp and paper industry, presented by Lou Athanas. Originally from Beijing, China, Lou began her career in the pulp and paper industry in 1996 and joined ABB as a process control engineer after earning dual bachelor's degrees in electrical engineering and English. After 4 years with ABB China, she moved to the United States to support the Pulp and Paper Projects Group as a systems engineer. While working full-time, Lou pursued a master's degree in wood and paper science technology at North Carolina State University. In 2012, she became the QCS Regional Technical Advisor and later led ABB's Technical Specialist Group. In 2018, Lou earned her MBA, further strengthening her leadership and business skills. The following year, she transitioned into sales as an account manager and was promoted to Regional Sales Manager for the Eastern U.S. in 2022. Today, she leads a high-performing team focused on customer success and sustainable growth. With over 2 decades of industry experience, Lou continues to make a meaningful impact in the pulp and paper sector through her technical expertise and people-first leadership. A TAPI member since 2006, she actively contributes to the process control and women in industry divisions, championing innovation, inclusion, and mentorship across the field. Lou's career journey is a powerful story of resilience, adaptability, and lifelong learning. Now I'd like to turn the floor over to Lou.
Thank you, Sarah, for the beautiful introduction. Before we dive into today's topic, the ideal team player, I'd like to share a few personal reflections because my journey has shaped how I view teamwork and leadership. So, like Sarah said, I grew up in China, and I did not start speaking English until my 3rd year in college. My experience taught me humility early on, because navigating a new language while studying engineering, that pushed me to listen more, ask for help, and embrace discomfort. It also sparked me hunger for growth that has stayed with me ever since. When I moved to the US in 2000, I stepped into a new culture, a new role, and a new way of working. That transition taught me resilience and adaptability. So these are the qualities that are essential in a team environment. So while working full-time, I pursued a master's in paper science from NC State. That decision reflected the hungry virtue that we'll explore today. And it's always striving to learn and improve. And then later, I took on a role that stretched me beyond my comfort zone. I led the ABB Technical Specialist Group. These are the high-level technical specialists. And that's where I began to understand the power of building strong teams. And not just managing tasks, but fostering trust, collaboration, and shared purpose. And you see a group photo from that time. These were the people who taught me what it means to lead a team, not just manage one. And in 2019, when I stepped into sales, that was a bold move for someone with a technical background. I had my doubts, but I approached it with the mindset of a problem solver, not a product pusher. And so that shift helped me to become a trusted advisor. And this group photo shows the incredible team that I lead as a regional sales manager. So each of these moments have highlighted, along the road of my growth. It taught me the value of humility, hunger, and people smart. And they're not just career milestones, in my opinion. They're lessons in how to grow, how to lead, and how to show up for others. And that's exactly what we'll explore today through the ideal team player framework. So here's what we'll be covering today in the session. I've structured the webinar to be practical, engaging, and I want to make it relevant for the paper industry. So we'll start by looking at why teamwork is more critical now than ever. And especially in our industry, where workforce dynamics, technology, and customer expectations are evolving rapidly. And then I'll introduce the framework from Patrick Lencioni's book, The Ideal Team Player. It's a simple but very well, very powerful model that helps us identify and develop the right people for our teams. And we'll dive into the three essential virtues: humble, hungry, and people smart, and explore why they're so important and what they look like in real world team settings. And next, we'll talk about how to apply the model and whether you're seeking self employment, hiring, coaching, or building a team culture. So, as a bonus at the end, I'll also introduce a concept called the commitment model. So, it helps to reinforce accountability and alignment within teams. And finally, we'll wrap up with a Q&A session. I will also be asking for your input throughout the session using a few quick polling questions. So please feel free to participate and share your thought. So first, let's kick things off with this quick poll. I'd love to hear from you. What's the biggest team challenge your organization is facing today? Is it lack of trust or communication, misaligned goals, struggles with hiring the right people, or maybe resistant to change? So, or if it's something else entirely, please feel free to type it in the chat because this will help us to get a sense of what's the most relevant to you and guide our conversation as we explore how the ideal team player model can help address these challenges. So you can see the questions pop up on your screen. Okay, can we review the results? Thank you very much. We see a distribution among all of them. All right, appreciate it. Thank you, thank you. All right, let's start with why teamwork is so critical. Everybody says, "Oh, we got to work as a team." It's really important. But why? We're facing big shifts: an aging workforce, rising automation, sustainability demands, and changing customer expectations. These challenges require more than technical know-how, so not just technicals, and they demand strong collaboration across roles, generations, and locations. So work today is faster and more connected. Remote support, cross-functional teams, and quick decisions are the norm. And in this environment, teamwork isn't just optional, it's a competitive edge. From my own journey from engineering to sales, I have seen that most successful teams aren't always the most experienced. They're the ones that communicate trust and stay aligned. And that's why the ideal team player is so relevant. It gives us a practical way to build teams and thrive in this complexity and in this complex environment, then we can deliver results. So this quote from Patrick Lencioni, that's the author of this book, it really resonates with me. In our industry, we often focus on technical innovation, cost control, and strategy. And those are all important. But the teams that consistently outperform, these are the ones that work well together. Teamwork is the multiplier that turns good plans into great results. So I'm showing you this funny picture. I'm sure a lot of you are laughing. I'm sure you've all seen teams like this, maybe even worked in one. It's funny because it's true. So there's the person who does 99% of the work, the one who's completely lost, the one who promises to help but never does. And of course, the one who disappears until it's time to take credit. Well, this is meant to be humorous because it reflects a real challenge. Not every team member contributes equally, and not every team is aligned. This is exactly why we need, the framework, like the ideal team player, because when we understand what makes someone truly effective in a team, humble, hungry, and people smart, we can build teams that avoid these dynamics and actually thrive. So in this simple model from the ideal team player, it shows us three essential virtues that make someone the great team member. It takes all three to truly stand out in a team environment. And when these qualities overlap, you get the ideal team player. So let's pause for another quick, let me go back here. For another quick check with this number two polling question, think about your current team and be honest. Which of these three virtues do you think is most lacking? Is it humility? Maybe folks struggle with ego or taking feedback. Is it hunger? Perhaps there's a lack of drive or initiative. Or is it people smart, where emotional intelligence and collaboration could use a boost? Or if you're not sure, and that's okay too. This poll is not just about judgment; it's about awareness. Recognizing where we're strong and where we can grow is the first step building a truly ideal team. All right, let's take a look at the result. Okay, thank you. Again, we see a spread in all of these virtuals, and some of you are not quite sure. Okay, well, let's dive into these virtuals. Maybe this will help you to understand and it will help you to identify them a little better. Okay, the first one. So we do a deeper dive, and the humble team player. They always put the team's success above their own recognition. So they admit mistakes and see them as an opportunity to learn. They share credit, making sure wins are celebrated as a team achievement, not individual ones. They'll use the word we, not I, so often. And they often to open the feedback, seeking advice and different perspectives. And also value everyone's input, making sure all voices are heard. So humility creates trust. And when trust is strong, the whole team performs at its best. How do you like this quote from C.S. Lewis? Humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. So here's an example. I met a senior process control engineer at a mill. He led a major troubleshooting effort that improved the machine efficiency by 15%. So instead of taking credit all on his own, he highlighted the contribution of the operators who actually spotted the issue and the maintenance team who implemented the fix. He also shared the lesson learned with the other mills and inviting feedback to refine the process. So that's humility in action, putting the team first and being open to input, focusing on collective success. All right, so the next virtue is hungry. This is not hungry for food. It's not the kind of hunger that gets solved with lunch. I know it's lunchtime for a lot of us. This is about drive, initiative, and a deep desire to contribute. So hungry team players are the ones who take action without being asked. They seek out challenges and they stay committed even when things get tough. They're not satisfied with good enough and they want to grow, improve, and help the team to succeed. And as this quote says, a hungry mind is the key to learning and growth. And in our industry, where innovation and resilience are critical, this kind of hunger makes all the difference. So why does this matter in this paper industry? Because hunger drives people to tackle tough challenges. And like improving production, efficiency, reducing downtime, or meeting sustainability goals, it's a difference between just maintaining the status quo and pushing for excellence. So here's another example. A shift operator noticed a frequent manual intervention during real changes. It was causing delays and safety risks. So on his own time, he designed a simple tool and workflow adjustment that reduced the manual handling. And the result, improved safety and reduced downtime. So that's hunger in action. And he was taking the initiative, the ownership, and the commitment to make things better. Okay, let's talk about what it means to be a smart team player. This is the third virtue. Being smart here doesn't mean just book smart or technical skills. It's about emotional intelligence and people savvy. These are the skills that help us work well with others and in team building, collaboration within teams. So, people smart team players practice these 4 or 5 key behaviors. Listen, they truly hear what others are saying, not just wait to respond. And they understand. As they listen, they want to try to understand. Notice your teammates' emotions and needs, even the unspoken ones. They read the body language as well. Respond. So, in tough situations, take a moment and respond thoughtfully rather than just reacting quickly. Resolve. When conflict happens, and it will, and work to find constructive solution instead of letting issues linger. And finally, collaborate. They keep the team goal in mind because success comes from working together, not individually. So when we practice these traits, we don't avoid conflict. We build stronger trust and alignment as a team. So I saw this firsthand when I was a systems engineer providing operator training at a mill. This is just before a new system was installed. I was in Arkansas. So one operator was not engaging. He wasn't even giving me the eye contact when I was giving the operator training. And the others told me, he said he was deaf. And just don't worry about him. Let's just go on. So, but I chose to work with him individually. So after this training, I spent with him just speaking closely to his ear and making sure he could follow the training, all the new material. Then after the installation and the startup, I continued working with him to ensure he fully understood the new system. And guess what? He later on became the biggest champion for the new system. Nobody likes to change, but he really liked the training and the information. He became our champion. So I really enjoyed that experience. So this experience reminded me how powerful it is truly see and support every person on the team. And that's people smart. Recognizing the need, responding the empathy, and building trust through meaningful connection. All right. So we talk about all three virtues. And now let's take a look at what happens when someone lacks all three virtues. So these are the individuals easily spot. And yes, they are going to be hard to work with. So they're not interested in learning or growing, so they're not hungry. And they think they already know everything, so they're not humble. And of course, they have no clue how their behavior affect others. So definitely not people smart. So fortunately for managers, these people are very easily identified. So they rarely slip through the interview process and make it onto teams. But unfortunately, life can be very hard for them. So now, the ideal team player model. On the left, you see the sweet spot, someone who's humble, hungry, and people smart. And that's the kind of teammate we all want. We all want to, strive to be, and we all want to work with. But let's be honest, not everyone checks all three boxes. And that's where things get interesting and sometimes a little messy. So on the right, we see the almost. So people who only have one or two of the three virtues, they're not hopeless, but they come with some quirks. So let's take a look at what if someone who's just only hungry? That's a bulldozer. They get things done, but leave a trail of broken relationships behind. For the people, they're only people smart. That's the charmer. They are smooth talkers and great in meetings, but don't expect them to follow through. They can hide in a team setting for a while, but eventually you're going to notice them. Okay, what about only humble? That's a palm. They're nice, but they get pushed around and don't contribute much. What if they have two out of the three virtues? Only humble and hungry, but not people smart. That's the accidental mess maker. They mean well, they work hard, but they don't realize the chaos they leave behind because they don't care about other people's feelings. What about humble and people smart, but not hungry for knowledge, for growth? So that's the lovable slacker. Everyone likes them, but you're consistently wondering if they're actually doing anything. Okay, what about if someone is hungry and people smart but not humble? That's a skillful politician. They know how to work the system and sometimes the people, but watch your back. So the point is, when even one virtue is missing, it creates friction. And when all three are present, that's when real teamwork happens. So this model is powerful because it helps us diagnose team dynamics and make intentional decisions, whether we're hiring, coaching, or developing a culture. So it's not about perfection, it's about awareness and growth. So when we know what to look for, we can build teams that truly perform. Okay, so now you have a better understanding of doing your own self assessment and thinking about your other team players that you work with. So now let's do a quick pulse check here with poll question number 3. I'd love to hear how your organization currently assesses team fit, whether it's during hiring or team development. Do you use structured interviews or assessment? Do you have a system? Or do you rely on gut feeling? Maybe you gather peer feedback, or maybe there's no formal process at all. And if it's something else, then please feel free to type in the chat. So, there's no right or wrong answer here. This is just a great way to see the variety of approaches out there and maybe spark some ideas what might work in your own teams. Okay, let us take a look at the answers. That's good. More than a third of you already have structured interview and assessment. And then peer feedback, or if you don't have a formal process, maybe this webinar will give you some ideas because there are some tools that I will talk about. Well, thank you very much. So we learned the concept, and now we understand the model. So now let's talk about how to actually use it. So this framework isn't just theoretical. It's incredibly practical and can be applied in multiple areas of team building and talent development. So this model comes from the Table Group. So that's a group, they develop leadership tools and they provide consulting um, for any industry. And the author, Patrick Lencioni, he leads this Table Group. And they specialize in organizational health and teamwork. And so this model is actually one of their most widely used tools. So first, let's start with ourselves. Self-evaluation. This is a powerful first step. The Table Group offers a free self-assessment worksheet that helps you reflect on your own strengths and growth areas, across virtual. So by answering those questions, you'll get the results to see where you're at on the scale of humble, hungry, and people smart. And then, after having the self-awareness, you know what areas you need to grow. Okay, then for the hiring and interviewing, so we often just focus on technical skills. But this model actually reminds us to hire for value. Using structured interview guides, we can ask questions that reveal whether a candidate is humble, hungry, and people smart. I was talking to a couple of new team members of mine this morning. I gave them a preview of this presentation, and I actually told them, I said, you guys probably didn't know when I interviewed you, I actually used some questions to see if you have these virtues. They're like, oh, I didn't even realize that. So there's some good interview questions that you can use. Okay, then there's coaching and performance review. This model gives us a shared language. Instead of just vague feedback, we can be specific, like saying, you're doing great on hunger, but let's work on people smarts, because it encourages a balanced growth. Because when you share this with your team, you have these common language. So when you talk about hunger, they know what you're talking about. All right, and now finally, team development. We can use this model to assess the entire team, where we're strong, where we're vulnerable. So this helps us tailor team building efforts and build a more cohesive and high performance group. Okay, so these are some application tools that you can use. And now let's bring it all together next. We have a few key takeaways from today's session. First, a quick recap of the three virtues that define an ideal team player. Humble, they put the team first. They welcome feedback and value others. And hungry, they're proactive, self-motivated, welcome feedback, and value others. And people smart, they understand people, they communicate effectively, they build strong relationships. Now, let's be real. What happens when one of these is missing? Without humility, people work in silos and ignore input. Without hunger, they do the bare minimum. Without people smart, just even good intentions can lead to poor communication and missed details. That's why balance matters. So the best teams balance all three traits. They collaborate, they take ownership, they support each other. That's why, that's why this is so important, and that's what drives performance, trust, and long-term success. So here is a question to take home with you. Which of these traits do you personally want to develop more? Whether you're leading a team or just part of one. Because growth starts with self awareness. And when each person commits to growing in these areas, the whole team benefits. So here is the book. I hope that you get to stay until the end because you will have a chance to win one of these books. So if this session resonated with you, I highly, highly recommend diving deeper into this book because it's written in a leadership fable. So it's very easy to read and it's relatable and through a storytelling. Because I first started listening to the audiobook, I'm like, this is really good. So then I got me a hard copy of the book. And Patrick Lencioni, he introduces three virtues and shows how they play out in real team environment. And what I love about this book is that it's not just theory. It's very practical. Whether you're hiring, coaching, and just simply trying to be better teammate, this book offers a clear roadmap for you. And the best part, you can start applying it right away. And you can find resources, including the self-assessment and interview guides at this website. We will be sharing the presentation later on. So I encourage you to go to the website, get a lot of resources, and some of the resources are free as well. Okay, so wait, there's more. I said I will give you a bonus at the end. So I want to share this bonus concept that complement everything that we have discussed with the ideal team player today. It's called the commitment model from the book Employability by Joe Moll. This is also another book that's part of our giveaway today. The wording employability, it's not a common word. It's actually a blending of several words: employer, loyalty, and humanity. Employability is the commitment that employers make to consistently deliver a humane, person-centered employee experience. Because this is what leads people to the highest level of commitment at work. So I'm talking to, probably addressing this to the team leaders and employers. So because this model helps us understand what drives employee commitment. I'm sure a lot of us are having really challenges with recruiting and retention. So this model actually aligns perfectly with building ideal teams, especially increasing your team retention. So let's take a look at this Venn diagram. Commitment happens when three key elements come together. A great boss is someone who coaches, builds trust, and advocates for their team. An ideal job, that's when compensation, workload, and flexibility are all aligned. And meaningful work, that's when people feel there's a purpose. They use their strength and experience, and they feel a sense of belonging. When they get up in the morning, they want to go to work. So let's think about how this concept connects to the ideal team player model. So a great boss helps cultivate humility, hunger, and people smart. An ideal job motivates team members to stay hungry and engaged. Meaningful work, that would definitely reinforce humility and emotional intelligence because people care about the impact they're making. So there's a lot of business impact. When these three elements align, we don't just get better teamwork, we get stronger retention, a better reputation, and really better results at the end. So how can I create this kind of environment? You might be thinking like that. Well, when people feel truly committed, they don't just show up. They show up and they're ready to contribute collaborate, and grow. So this is a really, really important model for us to remember as well. Okay, so now before we wrap up, I'd like to hear from you again. This is our last polling question. What's the one action you'd like to take after today's session? So take a moment to choose the option that resonates most with you, whether it's sharing the ideal team player model with your team, reflecting on your own strengths and gaps, revisiting your hiring or development process if you didn't have one, or even just diving into the book itself or the employee, the other book. If your next step is not here, please feel free to type in the chat because I like to hear your ideas. Again, this poll isn't just for me, it's for you as well, because this is a chance to commit to one small action that can make a bigger difference in how your team works together. So you're making a little commitment to yourself here. Okay, let's see the result. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for sharing your next step. Yeah, a lot of you are talking about reflect on my own strengths and gaps. That means you're taking this seriously, internalizing the information yourself. And yeah, and sharing the model with the team, revisiting how you hire and develop people, because this is really how real changes begin. And this is really the ideal team player framework. It's not just a framework, it's a mindset. It's really a mindset. And when we apply it intentionally, we build teams that are not only more effective, but more connected and resilient. So thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. All right. I just want to thank you for spending the time with me together. I hope today's session gave you practical insight and spark some ideas, building stronger and more connected teams. So if you'd like to continue the conversation or share feedback or just explore how these concepts can be applied to your organization, I'd love to connect. You can scan the QR code to grab my contact info, or just reach out to me through my email address. And now, Sarah, should we open up for questions or?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you, Lou. We'll now go through the submitted questions. You can still type your questions into the Q&A section on your screen. I'm going to read the question and Lou will answer. First up, how can leaders in the pulp and paper industry reinforce these traits during onboarding or training?
Thank you. Good question. Leaders, this is addressed to leaders. So first of all, you got to be a model, a role model yourself. If you're a leader, demonstrate these virtues. And then definitely you can embed these traits into your onboarding materials, like your team charters or a value statement. And then definitely encouraging peer mentorship. Because when you share this belief, it's a culture, right? So when you share the same belief among other teams, that you can encouraging others to also provide feedback. So definitely incorporate feedback loops early on, whether for new team members or existing team members, provide feedback to each other. Because sometimes among peers, they would be even more open to give each other feedback.
Thank you, Lou. Next up, does the book include suggested interview questions to evaluate these key virtues?
Good question. So I shared that website earlier. There's a lot of good recommended questions, and you can definitely use them or just customize them to meet your needs. I like the group interview setting, and hopefully you'll have the same belief with this model as well. And you also want to share, because when usually you have the first round of interview, then you talk among yourself, right? The interviewers, and then maybe you want to dive a little deeper. For example, I want to really dive a little deeper into the humbleness of this person. You can ask specific questions. Okay, so for example, like, um, tell me how you handle praises in a team accomplishment. um, or like hungry, describe a situation where you went above and beyond without being asked. So these specific questions. So when you get together, as a group setting, you can help each other to use these questions to discover if your candidates are good candidates in these, in these areas. And you can also ask questions, like for the people smart. For example, you ask the candidate, share an example when you when you read a room, then you have to adjust your communication style. That shows you if you are being observant in the room.
Thank you, Lou. This question, I believe you basically just touched on it, but what are some effective interview questions that help reveal whether a candidate is truly humble, hungry, and people smart?
Yep, yeah, I gave a few examples. Again, I highly recommend that you go to the website, download some interview questions, and quite interesting, some of the interview questions.
And lastly, what's the best way to assess these traits in a team that's already formed?
Ah, yep. So sometimes you inherit the team. Let's say you're a team leader, you inherit the team, and how do you know where they're at? So being a leader, definitely the first one you want to observe the behaviors in the real situations. So in a team meeting, are they listening to each other? Do they show they're being, showing humility, giving credit to others? And also you can also see if your team members, are they being proactive, taking the initiative beyond just their job description or just the current job assignment? Are they going above and beyond? Um, so that's number one. You got to observe their behavior, and then you can use targeted questions in a one-on-one team settings. Don't just wait until your yearly performance review time, PDA time. So hopefully you will have monthly, quarterly reviews with your team members, because you want to provide feedback, and then they can, having the self-awareness and then improve. And also, like these peer feedback that I mentioned earlier, the 360 reviews that you can encourage your team to participate, because peers, they really see some of the traits that managers might miss. Also, the self-assessment tool that I mentioned earlier, you can also give this to your team members for them to do the self-assessment. Now, they may not necessarily have to show you the results, but also like what we did in this webinar, a lot of people have improved your self-awareness. So these are the good tools. That's the first step, having the self-awareness. But yeah, the main thing is really, observe, doing the feedback, then help your team to improve.
Thank you, Lou. I had one additional question come in. Oh, some more are popping up. You're popular. How do we inspire hungry for team members that aren't putting in the effort? What are some ways to kickstart this in someone?
Expectations, accountability. So you can actually really ask the team member, what do you want to do? What's your short-term goal and long-term goal? And how can I help you to get there? Yes, not everybody is hungry. Some people, they just want to stay the status quo. And for certain jobs, and that's okay. That's what they want to do for the rest of their lives. But others, a big part is that communication. You want to find out what they want to do and then help them to get there. Maybe you can provide ideas. See, hungry doesn't always mean you have to go out and get another degree. That's one thing to do if you want to advance your education. But okay, maybe just, gaining more technical skills, that's another thing. Or building your own soft skills, like we're talking about. Maybe as a manager, offer some options, for the team member to grow. But definitely the one-on-one feedback is really, really important.
Okay, thank you. How do you suggest assessment with a new team with this remote setup when people are not in an office?
Good question. So again, a lot of these tools that you can use just online, send it to your team member, your remote team to do. And then when you give feedback, if you really cannot do it in person, if you have to do it through Teams, please turn on the cameras because you want to really see each other and you want to be personal. Like I lead a team, we all work remotely. I try to make a point to see them, but that's not possible. But definitely, you want to be connected. Use these tools and give feedback. In fact, maybe initially do an introduction, have a team call, introduce this model, like what I'm doing today. Just use Patrick Lencioni's information. Maybe send out the book to your team members and then let's do a book club. That's another idea. Let's just talking about book club. We have a book club on our own, our WIN division, and having the book club, and also definitely have the one-on-one and collect feedback. Because as a team leader, you also want a feedback as well from your team members. It goes both ways. So by doing the remote teams, it's not easy because you're not always together, but you should always talk. Try to do the FaceTime if you can. Use the book club. It's a good, really a good way to connect with your team. And then you have the common language, like I mentioned earlier. Then you say, oh, you've done really well on the Hungary. Let's work on your people smart. So most people always want to get better.
Thank you, Lou. What happens if you have a team member that their self-reflection is not accurate?
So that's lack of awareness. So yourself, then maybe you can also leverage other team members to provide feedback to this individual. So he or she is not only getting the feedback from you, because you already think it's not accurate, but you also want this to be objective, not subjective. So you may want to take multiple people to give individual feedback to this person, and really to increase his self-awareness. That's pretty important. Again, utilize the book as well, but leverage other team members to do the same thing. So it's not just your own opinion. That's what this person may think. Oh, that's just your own opinion to me. But maybe if he or she hears this from multiple people, um, maybe it's more believing. Maybe this will change his own mind, his own self-awareness.
That was the last question in the Q&A section. So thank you again to Lou for her informative presentation. If you have any other questions for Lou, her contact information is available in the chat, along with the WIN representatives responsible for today's webinar, including Sarah Lohner, who's the WIN Division Chair, Amanda Kernan, who's the WIN Division Vice Chair and Program Chair, and Brianna Van Newland, the Career Catalyst Committee Chair. Now, for just a few housekeeping items before the book giveaway, the Women in Industry Division produces multiple events every year. Please make sure to mark your calendars and be on the lookout for details about some upcoming WIN events. The Career Catalyst Committee is hosting a virtual book club on September 18th. We will be discussing the book, The Likeability Trap by Alicia Menendez. Scan the QR code to register and join the conversation. Women's Summit, the WIN Division's premier event, is happening on October 20th in Savannah, Georgia, in conjunction with Core Expo. Scan this QR code to find out more details and register. If you're interested in learning more about the women in industry or volunteering on one of our committees, please scan the next slide's QR codes. I put them out of order. Ignore that one. Additionally, TAPI produces Student Summit in conjunction with the Young Professionals Division. It will be January 17th through 19th, 2026 in Birmingham, Alabama. Scan this QR code to learn more. If you're interested in learning more about the WIN Division, WIN committees, or WIN events, please reach out to me, Sarah Lunsford, or the WIN Division Chair, Sarah Lohner. I know there's a lot of Sarahs. Both emails are available in the chat. Finally, let's do this book giveaway for the 2 books Lou referenced for her presentation. We have 2 copies of each to give away. I'll go to the chat to scroll for our winners, so hang tight with me for a moment. Lou, can you go to the next slide for me?
Yes.
One more. Thank you. All right, scrolling, hang tight. Eyes are closed, I'm not cheating. The first winner, a copy of Employalty, is going to go to Tammy Chang. Tammy,
Congratulations, Tammy.
congrats. If you'll hang out for just a second so I can get your contact information. Next up, another copy of Employalty to Andrea Payne.
Congratulations, Andrea.
Tammy and Andrea, you got copies of Employalty. Next up, the Ideal Team Player. Walker Miracle, you have won the first copy. Again, hang out for just a second. And last up, Kit Falone. You've won the last copy of the Ideal Team Player, so those are our 4 winners. Thank you to everyone for sticking around for the webinar, and thank you again to Lou Athanas for today's presentation. Again, this webinar will be posted on tappy.org soon, so check back if you'd like to access the recording. Thank you for your time. This concludes today's webinar.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.